march to the community center to they had I wouldn't call it a protest, but they had a peaceful march. They just walked.
I was here and they phoned me. I went down, 9 o'clock. They were ready. They came from the Western community where they had a meeting. Now, whatever they decided there, I don't know what kind of made them that boisterous. When they came back from that meeting, they started plundering.
On the 7th of August, mobs of youth continued stoning cars and setting up barricades in Bloemendal, Chatty, and Arcadia. The bus service to the area was stopped, and most schools were empty as parents kept their children at home. NACC executive members visited the area to calm the people. At 2 p.m., police met community leaders and riot police agreed to pull out and keep a low profile. NACC leaders went to various areas to tell the people about this decision. Despite this agreement, police opened fire at Esterhazy Street in Arcadia and a child was wounded. Police claimed that they were unable to communicate with all their units and said that policemen guarding the shopping centre had been attacked by mobs throwing stones. The NACC had a rally at the Trust Centre in Bloemendal and the West End Community Centre. Afterwards, the police remained in the area and confrontation continued. Mobs attacked policemen with petrol bombs on Tuesday night. Stanford Road was closed off and shootings continued until 3 a.m.
Look, that night he went night to night shift. It was the last day of the week. It was the Friday night. All the shops were burnt. He went to his brother's house, and as he came out by his brother's house, because his brother was asleep in John Hoffman Road, he was sitting in front of the gate waiting for his transport. But apparently the transport didn't come up because of the shooting and stuff. So he had no other way, and they wouldn't wake his brother. So he was sitting in front of the gate on his knees, like sitting. And then the police were on the other side of Highfield Road. You know, it's like up and down. So they were on the downside, and they shot up, and they shot him in the crouch. 66 bird shots and a lot of live ammunition. Lots. They brutally murdered him.
And people who just were caught up in the whole psyche of these uprisings. And to me, it was one of the most amazing things that I had seen. Decent people were engaged in looting. I couldn't believe my eyes. There were people who were risking their lives to loot.
There were buildings sort of burnt down, it seemed to me, on a reasonably selective basis. And I said, what was that? And so many of them were buildings that had been owned by the Muslim community. And I thought, God, have we got to this? We're on the process of, it's 1990, we've just let Mandela out of jail, we're just starting, and now we have this ethnic cleansing going on in Port Elizabeth, of all places. And from nowhere, it seemed to have just come up overnight.
At the time when I was the chairperson of this whole meeting, when I addressed the people, I see the Caspers is coming from that side, from the Barrel-Dorp police station, but it was not the police from the Barrel-Dorp police station. That time it was called the Instability Unit. And they stopped here in Virgin Street. And after 5 minutes, then they start moving Virgin Street up to School Street, then on to the field. There was an entrance there where people can go out and in. There was one there where the face bricks was an entrance where people can move in and out. So what did police do? They blocked that entrance and they blocked this entrance here. So the people was cornered. Police create a situation where the blame must come to the people. In fact, they started it. My question was always, here's a Barrel-Dorp police station. Why not send those police if we were violent on this field? As you can see, there was a soccer field here. There's no stones on this field, you see. So they cannot say we are violent, we was violence. We was not violence. They are violence. They have started this whole thing.
What is expected of us? What should we do? We should defend our country in the best possible manner.
The immediate danger was, there is a problem now, it needs to be addressed. I can't wait for the other people. And unfortunately, the very first day, and even going into the second day, I had to police Galvindale with my own forces.
In fact, we believed that the police were instigating the issues in the area, and we wanted the police out of the area, okay, so that we could man it ourselves, you know. And the police were saying is that we're causing the damage to property by not having them there, you know, because you must remember the army was also called in, so there was army people also around but eventually we were right, because when they removed the police out of the area, and the issue was diffused.
Well, our objectives were quite clear, and that is to do the necessary crime prevention operations. And if we do have a crowd control situation, we as the uniformed police, we must first do the basics. And if it becomes that of such a nature that it is going to get out of control, then we normally call in the riot police. When the people start throwing stones, when it becomes a riot, because they are better equipped and they are better trained than us to deal with those situations.
The police have agreed not to interfere. So at that point in time, the location was already boiling with politics. The police thought that this would also boil off, by which the people that don't like violence will go and those that like violence. Because by nature, so-called colors are not violent people. They've never been violent, politically violent. And they would have resisted this violence. And the police must have thought, the vice must have thought, now we can get the people against each other. That's what I surmised.
At the stage when people's shops were being looted, we did the responsible thing. You know, we called those shopkeepers to meetings at West End Community Centre to try and get to a point where we could work jointly with them to prevent further loss and also to try and get the matter resolved.
So this is the Community West End Centre, and this was used as the sort of operation center for that week of the uprisings, and you had guys like Ronald Nigat, Terence Primo, Abram Yeoman, Ampie Williams, his wife Charmaine Williams, and many others. They manned this center here, and they controlled getting information where things were wrong, going wrong, and we'd go out there to try and calm people down, you know, because of all the false rumors that were being spread.
On Thursday, the 9th of August at 11:30 a.m., police reported that 23 people had been killed. 6 houses, 32 shops, 2 factories, a church and 3 schools had been burnt. 41 police and 7 other vehicles had been damaged or wrecked. There had been 66 incidents of stone throwing and petrol bombs aimed at police, and 12 policemen had been injured. 90 people were arrested. Rumours of pending neighbourhood attacks were rife. Residents armed themselves and screened traffic through Galvindale, Hillside and Parkside. Others moved out of their homes. Chatty, Bloemendal and Arcadia were quiet. A mass meeting was held at the Galvindale Stadium, and the then Minister of Law and Order, Adrian Vlok, was asked to discipline the police, and there was a call for one city council, the formation of street committees to protect the residents, and the resignation of the Northern Areas Management Committee. Acting Commissioner of Police toured the area and met community leaders and the Midland Chamber of Industry. The Commissioner concluded that criminals were now heavily involved and that the police presence had not provoked the people. He requested more men for the police. Barricades went up in Uitenhage at 5 p.m. Several shops were burnt and plundered. A car was set alight and a primary school was damaged. In December 1991, the Convention for a Democratic South Africa, also known as CODESA, began negotiations on the formation of a multiracial transitional government and a new constitution extending political rights to all groups. CODESA adopted a declaration of intent and committed itself to an undivided South Africa. Although the talks broke down several times, they were eventually successful in getting the ANC and the NP to reach an agreement. Friday morning, 42 people, 2 in Uitenhage, had died. The number increased to 46, 4 from Uitenhage that day. That night, Alan Hendrikse, the leader of the Labour Party's church, a funeral parlour, butchery and general dealer store were set on fire. While Uitenhage burnt, PE residents removed barricades and there was only sporadic looting. The final toll released by police on August the 15th was 46 dead, but this increased to 49 by August the 17th. The costs of the damages to private businesses was calculated at 26.4 million rand, and the municipality suffered damage of 2.6 million rand.
The 1990 uprising riot, to me, was a sad thing in that it destroyed my business.
Obviously, people were very, very emotional about if your entire livelihood was taken away from you in a blink of an eye, you would be emotional about that. And unfortunately, most of the shopkeepers in the northern areas and businesses in the northern areas were not covered by SASRIA, which was the riot insurance, because nobody had foreseen something like this would happen.
And insurance got away with murder as well. And here we come to a meeting with John Vera, the mayor, and the commissioner of police, and they term it, it's not a political riot, it's a riot, and insurance termed it, it's political riot. And that's where they got away. Now, you tell me why would the commissioner of police and the mayor says it's not political? How come the insurance comes up and terms it as political? Where did that originate from, that it's political? How do they know it's political? It wasn't political.
The police and the intelligence services probably saw what happened in the northern areas probably as an opportunity to further their own objectives and gains.
Die 1990 uprising is nou al 25 jaar agter ons. In die lig van daai ondervinding wat jy gehad het, soos jy vandag hier so sit, wat is u huidige behoefte? And it can be any need, whether it's emotional, physical, you decide.
The purpose of today is really we want to share with you the progress. We want to explore some options of memorialization. We had a conference, we had 2 dialogues, and today we call it as a 3rd dialogue. But we keep the space small, and the experience has shown, that these small groups actually produce really, really in-depth and valuable information, and people actually walk away from it better. And they contributed, to the bigger picture of society. So we want to listen to you. It's really the space is for you today. So and listen to you and your suggestion.
And that morning when the riot riot started by us. The uprising started by us. We just heard that something is happening in Bloemendal. But when I met Godfrey, I never knew what happened that side and why it became to the uprising and the looting and stuff. I only found out. Now what about the other people that was